Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's panel discussion, a live virtual event brought to you by Women Driving Innovation, a special interest group from Atlanta Innovation. Thank you for coming tonight, and we hope that you are all well and you enjoy our program. Tonight's program is a joint effort between Women Driving Innovation and Wnet. So a few housekeeping rules that we want to go over with you. You may have seen a message already that says send all thought-provoking questions via questions or chat tab, and follow us on social with @ Women Driving Innovation and hashtag WDIATL. Who are we and what we do? If this is your first time, I want to remind you, if it is a repeat performance, but Women Driving Innovation try to highlight the leaders in whatever industry that we're focusing on, which tonight is blockchain. So we highlight thought leaders that are already in the industry, and we strive to create a new generation of female thought leaders within the next gen. And next slide. Thank you to our sponsors. Our association sponsors are Stable Kernel, Stone Resource, Rightpoint, Carabiner. We also have a premier sponsor, Cox Communications, and our location sponsor normally is Tech Park in Atlanta Tech Park. Okay, it's time to get the program rolling. So I would like to now welcome our top innovator. The Top Innovator program, for your reference, showcases the most innovative and diverse companies in the Southeast. Companies seeking to accelerate their growth through connections and exposure and solving big problems by talented people. So tonight's top innovator is Chrissa McFarlane. Chrissa, could you come forward? There you are.
Hey.
Hi, Chrissa. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
So would you like to tell us a little bit about your what brought you here and where you see yourself going in the near future?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, Liz. You know, we've been around in the Atlanta startup scene for a couple of years now, especially being one of the only 2 companies back in 2017 to successfully issue a digital currency through our foundation. Currently, our technology in our company focuses on empowering end users with actionable insights into health data. When I first started the company, we were focused on providing a solution to the growing epidemic chronic disease trend. And now we've been able to actually filter that over into the current pandemic of COVID-19. So our platform, our platform is an aggregation of data from electronic medical records to wearable devices and medical devices. To date, our blockchain Health Information Exchange Network can retrieve data from over 10,000 hospitals here in the US. And if we go to the next slide, I can tell you more about the solution and how we're able to use data and analytics to provide insights into population health management. We have both an enterprise solution, which is our Neath Enterprise D app. It's a D app because it runs on this blockchain network, HIE, that's HIPAA compliant. And then we're most known for our consumer Patientory consumer app, which gives individuals a longitudinal health record of their information. But what's really interesting in how we, differentiate ourselves from other solutions that are out there is that, we take in data not only from not only medical data, but we take in health data, social and economic factors that may also affect a person's overall health. And then we give daily insights on what they should be doing to either improve their health. So we see this as a really interactive platform for our direct-to-consumer medium as well. We're currently raising our first institutional round, about 5 million, to help to continue expanding and building on our sales and marketing to reach our pipeline customers and continued growth for our company.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And your company's name is Patientory Inc. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And you can follow us on social media. We tweet at Patientory or patientory.com.
I definitely will do that. And for all of you listeners out there, you can ask Chrissa questions through the question channel, and she'll be back with us at the end of the program to answer for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now it's time to meet our moderator, our very own Stephanie Foster. She is a product and fintech leader, Money 2020 Rise Up Class of 218, Electronic Transaction Association 40 under 40 and 19, a founding member of WDI, and on the advisory board for Wnet. Thank you, and thank you for all your hard work, Stephanie, putting this program together tonight.
Thank you, Liz. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Stephanie Foster, and I am extremely excited to moderate our discussion this evening. As an active member of both WDI and Wnet, it really gives me great pleasure to bring the two groups together tonight. I'm a little bit sad that we can't do it in person, but I'm sure that we'll all be able to get together in the future at some point. For those of you who may not be familiar with Wnet, Wnet stands for Women's Network in Electronic Transactions, and our mission is to create a stronger and more diverse industry by empowering and investing in women, which is what brings us all here tonight. A big shout out to Dana Sales, Paige Hembry, and the rest of the leadership of the Wnet Atlanta chapter for collaborating with us on this event this evening. So our topic is blockchain and fintech. I'm the fintech veteran, so I'm bringing the fintech, and Yamini and Shala are bringing the blockchain. So ladies, please go ahead and join me. Welcome.
Hey, everyone.
Hello, Yamini. So this is really cool. These are two women that I met fairly recently. Shala and I connected in December of last year. It was through networking, connection of a friend that brought us together. We're both moms. We have that in common, in addition to being women working in technology, and she's awesome. Shala is joining us all the way from Colorado. So thank you, Shala, for being here. Yamini and I know each other locally here in Atlanta. She's at BitPay, and our offices were fairly close to each other in Alpharetta. We've met for lunch. Another awesome mom. So it's kind of cool. We're all three moms of a panel. Working through COVID-19 with kids home and kicking ass. So thank you for being here, ladies. Let's go ahead and do introductions really quickly so we can delve into the program. Yamini, can you introduce yourself first, please?
Absolutely. And I'm Yamini Sagar, and I'm very thrilled to be here. Thank you, Stephanie and Shala, for having me here today. As for my background, I have always been a techie at my heart, and started as a Java developer. After working years as a Java developer, I then found my passion for product management and transitioned into this role in 2012. However, in 2018, while working at Intercontinental Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, I got the chance to work on the digital asset custody system for Bakkt. and also on the clearing and settlement of digital futures for ICE Clear US. And at that time, I got my introduction into blockchain. And my mind was absolutely blown away by the disruptive potential of this technology, and as well as smart contracts, right? So I decided to get a full-time role in this industry, and was fortunate, very fortunate enough to find a job at BitPay, which is the world's biggest crypto payment company. So thank you.
And you have a patent. You didn't say that, but you have a patent for back, right?
I do, yeah.
That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Shayla.
Hey, so thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for inviting me into an Atlanta discussion from all the way from Boulder. So I'm going to tell my background a little through the lens of blockchain and crypto, because I have a pretty unusual story, but I started my career as a US intelligence officer. And I actually first encountered blockchain and cryptocurrency when Bitcoin initially came on the scene. And of course, the government's response was, oh no, money laundering. This will need to be something that we watch. And then I went on as someone who, like Yamini, was very interested in understanding technology, went on to work for a VC who then invested in Bitcoin. And I thought, my gosh, what a total change of paradigm. But maybe I've only run into this twice, so maybe it's just a fluke. And then I went on to work for the world's largest hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates, and a friend of mine there had opened the first crypto hedge fund. And so I thought, man, I've now seen this in 3 totally different paradigms. It's not going away. And so after that, I really, I went down the rabbit hole, as everyone says, in blockchain and cryptocurrency. And I really started working on it full time, worked with the first broker-dealer that brought assets to market legally. And then also worked at Radar with Fortune 500 companies that were looking to develop solutions using blockchain technology. And here I am.
All right, great. Thank you, ladies. Thank you again for saying yes and participating on our panel tonight. So before we officially get started, we'd like to take a poll with the audience and just get a pulse of how much do you know about blockchain before we get into it. So Addie, can we put the poll up, please? All right, so we'll give you about 30 seconds to answer this first poll question. But when you think of blockchain, what's the first word that comes to mind? And please select one. Is it Bitcoin, crypto, remittances, fintech, or smart contracts? All right, let's see what the results are. So 53% say Bitcoin. That was to be expected, right? 17% crypto, only 3% for remittances. That's interesting. 11% fintech and 17% smart contract. So just as expected, it looks like the majority of our audience really associate blockchain with Bitcoin, which is not surprising at all. So blockchain is a technology that everyone loves to pick on. And I say that because, I think it's because most of us don't really understand what it is or how it works. So I would really ask both of you, Yamini and Shala, to clear up that confusion, demystify blockchain for us tonight. So, how would you explain blockchain to a 5-year-old? Shala, I'll have you go first.
Okay, so one of the common mistakes I see people make is that they use words like blockchain, cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin completely interchangeably. And they're very different things. And so I first want to start by clarifying that, and then also talking about why I think there's so much drama when it comes to blockchain technology, and then explain how it works. And so blockchain technology is a concept, right? And then a cryptocurrency is basically a tangible outcrop of a specific blockchain. So they're not the same things. And there are many blockchains that actually don't have cryptocurrencies attached to them. So I would be really careful when using those words interchangeably, specifically. And then Bitcoin is just a type of cryptocurrency. And of course, the most known one, but there are hundreds out there. A word that you will hear used is shitcoin. And basically, the first. Oh, am I allowed to say that? I think it's important to know what it is because it's part of the lingo, and you'll know probably the first 5 cryptocurrencies: Ethereum, Bitcoin, and a few of those, and then the rest there are many fraudulent schemes in there, like anything else. And so it pays to really be nuanced when you're thinking about it. So the second thing is why I think there's so much drama in blockchain coming on the scene. And typically when there's a change to fintech, one of 2 things changes: either the rules of the game and how it's played, or the roles in the game, who's doing what. With blockchain technology, both the rules and the roles are changing simultaneously. So it's just a lot to handle at once. And so it's understandable why people might feel a little bit uncomfortable, because blockchain is asking people to make a lot of new assumptions and live in a totally new paradigm. And lastly, the way I would explain blockchain technology to a 5-year-old, hopefully a 5-year-old that knows what an Excel spreadsheet is. Very, very smart 5-year-old. But everyone on this webinar has used Excel before, right? And so let's say I'm going to give Stephanie $5, and I have a spreadsheet where I'm tracking it, and Stephanie has a spreadsheet where she is tracking it. So I give her $5, and then on my spreadsheet, I actually say I gave Stephanie $8, and Stephanie says, "Wait a second, you gave me $5."
You didn't.
I need to pay up, right? So usually a bank would be let's say there would be an intermediary like a bank who would say, "Nope, Shayla, you gave her $5, we know it." And that's the validation, right? And so instead of having 2 separate spreadsheets and some tension in between, what if the world just had one big spreadsheet? And I make my transaction, I give Stephanie $5, it goes on the blockchain, and then 50 other people verify that that transaction happened. It means that I can't just run off and say, "I gave her $8, Stephanie owes me money, I'm coming to Atlanta." Now it's really crowdsourced, so those roles have changed, and it's very hard to backtrack that transaction or try to dispute that transaction. And so that's one of the reasons why blockchain is really powerful, very secure, why people call it immutable. And it's also why it's scary, because that's totally different than everything we've ever experienced in the fintech world. So that's my definition. Yamini, over to you.
For the record, I want to say that my daughter's first word was actually Excel. I'm just saying.
You're a great mom.
So hopefully, Stephanie, your daughter will understand my explanation. And I'm also hoping the 5-year-old is really smart to understand this. But I'm going to follow that example from Patientory Inc. from Chrissa. But Chrissa, congratulations, and really very proud of you. So let me start with the example to explain blockchain with our own medical and health records. So every entry into our health history today, right, is made by our doctor. So the history of our health records cannot be altered or erased, right? Once it is entered into the system, it stays. Once we have a health situation, that doesn't change later. So the history of our health records cannot be altered or erased, so that makes it immutable. However, new records can be added to this by our doctor, which means the doctor has the private key. You can think of it as the doctor has a private key, and we, on the other hand, have the public key because we are able to access our own records. Now, and now this medical history is extremely important for the diagnosis of our health and our treatment. So imagine if our doctor, instead of storing the data on one computer, stores it across a network of computers across the globe, which makes it decentralized, where every computer on the network gets a copy of our health records. So this makes the data decentralized. And if one computer, say, stops working or attempts to hack our records or alter our records, the majority of the other computers on this network, which are also called as nodes, are going to stop that computer, invalidate it, and this process they are able to do because they own a copy of the data themselves. So this is known as consensus. So by giving this example, hopefully I have described all the properties of a blockchain that makes it secure, transparent, right? And then it is immutable ledger of records. All the data is stored in a chronological order of date and time, and it requires consensus. And again, as Shala said, that blockchain was originally developed as a system for, or a platform for Bitcoins. But after seeing its brilliant features, a lot of other industries are now adopting it. For instance, finance, banking, supply chain management, digital identity, and even our own government. So I hope that made it simpler too.
Yeah, thank you, ladies. So to summarize, really, as Shala mentioned, the rules are changing, the roles are changing, right? And blockchain really can be described as a database. It's transparent, it's secure. I, as the owner, have the public key, and the person on the other end, whether it's whoever I'm sending the funds to, or if it's my doctor, whoever else, has the private key to be able to access the information. So that's great. I think that brings us to our next segment. I really want to drill this down to real life use cases, something that the average person can understand as to, well, how else is blockchain being used in financial services? We know, for example, we talked about cryptocurrencies. We know that it's used in accounting, smart contracts, international cross-border remittances, and even share trading too. So I would love for each of you, starting with Shala, to give us some more real life, down to earth examples of how blockchain is being used.
Happy to. I have a very favorite use case, as they know already, global remittance. And boy, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story before I get into it. And I think it drives home the point of why it's important to pay attention to blockchain right now. There used to be an old video company, I'm dating myself here, named Blockbuster. And Blockbuster put in a call to this small, scrappy startup that was in the video industry and said, we should probably meet these guys. They're doing some interesting things. And those guys had been in Vegas for a night. And they thought to themselves, oh my gosh, Blockbuster's calling, so we got to hustle. So they arrived to Blockbuster's office, and they're in flip-flops, and they smell like Vegas, and not the good part of Vegas. And so they get there, and Blockbuster's like, who are these guys? They're such jokes. And the startup is Netflix, and they explain how things are changing, and they get laughed out of the room. And Blockbuster's like, yeah, take a look at our balance sheet, we're fine. And as you all know, Blockbuster's no longer around. It died very shortly thereafter. Netflix is booming, especially now. And I think the same is going to happen inevitably with global remittance, and I think it's imperative to pay attention. Because right now, if I put in a transaction at a global remittance shop that will remain unnamed, I go in, I want to send $100 to Argentina. It takes $8 to send that $100 to Argentina, which for someone who's making $100 a week is a lot. It's a lot to lose. And it's a painful process. It takes 3 days to actually get it down to Argentina. There's just tons of hiccups in the consumer process along the way. And then you look at Bitcoin, and with Bitcoin, you can make that same transaction for a fraction of the cost. And I'm talking about $2 or 20 cents compared to $8, a meaningful amount. And you can do so almost instantaneously, right? A few minutes. And then all of a sudden it's confirmed. And oh, by the way, it's on a ledger that's worldwide and can be proven. So now your money can actually be tracked. And so for me, it's really important because I think that the digitization of the dollar is absolutely inevitable. You see people Venmoing, you see them using Square. You'll see BitPay continuing to be integrated because it's an awesome product. And I think that's our future. My husband and I joke that I don't think that my son will ever touch money. I think that we'll hang it up in a picture frame so that he knows what it is. And so that's why I think it's really important to pay attention to this use case.
Yeah, that's really true. And as a person coming from this international P2P space, where I did this for more than 15 years, I've seen how much the remittance industry has evolved over the last 20 years from being a purely cash-based business where you literally have to like walk into a Kroger or a Publix, hand cash to a person, right? And it could take several hours. The other person on the other end has to go to another retailer, receive cash, and then use the funds, right? To go from the cash to cash based business to, hey, now I can use my debit card at Kroger, to, hey, now I can go online, to, hey, now I can use an app, to, hey, now I can transfer from my bank account with Venmo or Zelle. There's a lot that has happened in the last 20 years. I think, like you said, blockchain is going to be the next evolution within cross-border remittances. So thank you for sharing that. And also to your point about cash, I have a 5-year-old daughter. I talk about my kids all the time. She does not understand the value of cash. You're absolutely correct. She will throw a dollar bill in the trash can because all she's seen is mommy and daddy use our phones. We're big Apple Pay users, or we use a credit card or debit card. So you're spot on that. Yamini, go ahead.
Sure, yeah. So to add to the Shala's example for cross-border remittances, I also want to say that banks today have to hold like literally trillions of dollars dormant in nostro-vostro accounts across the world, right? To be able to remit cross-border payments. So that money is sitting dormant there. And that's why I love what Ripple is doing in this space, where it will literally free up all that amount that is sitting dormant by bringing all these banks, exchanges together to be able to transfer money in seconds for very low fees. And then the second greatest use case for me is BitPay, where I work, right? BitPay has 2 amazing products for businesses. One of them is payment services, and one of them is payout services. So what the payment services does, it's a very simple model. It's like businesses come on board, they just pay 1% transaction fees, that's it. And what happens is they don't have to do anything with cryptos. We accept the payments in cryptos, convert it at the best exchange rates, no hidden fees, and exchange it into the fiat of the merchant's choice that we support. And then we settle it to their bank accounts on a daily basis. So I feel like this is a great way for businesses to save money instead of going to credit cards and paying high fees and then waiting for their payments to settle, right? Because getting a payment is one thing and getting it settled is another thing, which takes a long time. The same thing with payouts. The BitPay payout product is amazing, where merchants can deposit fiat currencies, right? However, they can pay out to the customer their salary or money for their services, and BitPay will convert it into the crypto of the customer's choice, and make it at a very high speed. So this is like almost instant payments to any employee or customer or a vendor. So the other thing that BitPay offers for consumers is a non-custodial wallet, which is great, right? So it's a non-custodial, you own the private key, as well as they give you an amazing app where you can go and buy a gift card with cryptos, or you can buy cryptos, you can have a prepaid debit card and use it for your shopping. So that's another great use case that we have is BitPay. Thank you.
And I remember there was a restaurant where you and I had lunch in Avalon.
Yeah.
So you accepted BitPay.
Yeah.
I have to go back and try that. I still haven't tried that.
We should go together.
Yeah, once we're allowed to be at proximity again, we should definitely do that. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about this whole COVID-19 situation. You know, we've all seen how so many industries have been impacted so heavily by COVID-19, including airlines, cruises, retailers, restaurants, small businesses, and even, you know, our own industry, financial services, has been impacted too. You know, a lot of the banks have had to quickly figure out how to implement the CARES Act and the Paycheck Protection Program to help get the loans out to small businesses and their corporate customers. So Shala, I know it's something that you and I have talked about at length is, you know, what are the true opportunities that are coming out of this situation, particularly for blockchain?
So I think there are blockchain opportunities, and then I'm going to put on my enterprise hat because I believe most of the audience works at enterprise companies, and say, what would I do if I were on the strategy team of a large enterprise in fintech right now? And I would look at the fact that a lot of the VCs that raised a few years ago and deployed that capital to really interesting startups in the blockchain space. And unfortunately, COVID has done crazy things to the economy, and many of those teams who were looking to do their raise now are not really achieving the success that they wanted to. And so I think this is a fantastic time to go and buy a really smart team who's already built, because there are so many nuances to actually building on blockchain that acquiring a team at that price is an excellent way if you're looking to run proofs of concepts really quickly. So that's something that I would do in particular. I also think that there is so much opportunity for companies like BitPay that create instantaneous payments, that create the ability to take hold of more of the margins if you're a merchant, which I think, you know, I volunteer with Help Main Street, a website that aggregates local businesses and directs people to go buy gift cards and order online. And I can tell you that large players like Grubhub are taking crazy margins. And so if you're someone who's in fintech or blockchain that can just take those margins right down and give money back to local businesses that need it the most, I think, wow, what a use case. So that's where I think the opportunities and challenges lie, which is the challenge is surviving, but the opportunity might be joining a bigger enterprise where you can have a bigger splash too.
Yeah, all right, so any investors out there, now is the time. Okay, so I feel like we're having way too much fun. So let's talk about regulations, because that's took the life out of you.
Over to you.
No,
let me throw the potato over to her.
All right, so we know that the Federal Reserve hasn't exactly backed blockchain yet in financial services. We have, for example, regulators in India for a long time had issued a blanket ban on crypto up until earlier this year. I believe it was lifted. So I think that the audience would be curious to hear your perspective on, you know, what are some of the regulatory impacts on blockchain and within the financial services, financial technology space, and how it can better be deployed. I understanding that there are nuances between the US and other parts of the world. Yamini, would you like to go first?
Sure. Unfortunately, regulation is one of my favorite things to work on. So yeah, I agree with you. Very good news for India, right? I'm so happy that Supreme Court lifted the ban, and it's great for the crypto industry right now. So very excited, go India. Besides that, I also want to say that there are now 5 central banks across the world, at least 5 that I know of, that are actually working on building their own digital currency. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to look at Bitcoin and learn from it, especially because Bitcoin is the one that came with a game changer of being able to do a person-to-person transfer of money, right, across an open internet protocol, which is so secure. So this was a game changer for them. So now they are trying to build their own digital currencies, especially after Libra was announced by Facebook. So these are the good news. However, talking about regulations, I just want to say that just talking about US, right? it is so challenging where we have to comply with all the federal regulations. So the federal regulations would be defined by Bank Secrecy Act, BSA, and FinCEN, which is the lead regulator. And then we have CFTC, we have SEC, we have FDIC that's regulating banks. So we have to comply to all their regulations, which mainly includes building a proper compliance framework to be able to do anti-money laundering or countering finance terrorism, or for say KYC, know your customers, or doing PEP and sanctions check, doing all sorts of reporting to the regulators like suspicious activity reporting and others, right? So we have to build a framework to comply to all these different regulations, but it doesn't just end there, because then you also have different states in US that have their own laws for regulating cryptos. Not all of them, but most of them that are into regulating cryptos differ in their regulatory laws. So it becomes very difficult for companies to look at all these regulations and understand them. And there is a big lack of guidance from the regulators itself when it comes to helping companies in understanding on how to implement the regulations. However, I want to say that CFTC has gotten a lot better after Kelly Loeffler, the ex-CEO of BAT, has joined the Senate. So go Kelly. But apart from that, because of all the challenges that companies are facing, they end up spending their biggest budget in complying, probably collectively billions of dollars. And the companies that cannot or that are scared are the top innovation companies are moving away from US and going to other countries that are more regulatory friendly, like they're going to Switzerland, Cayman Islands, and Malta. So we want to stop that, right? So my request to regulators is come together. I know it's difficult to come together and talk about this, but like come together, talk about this, brainstorm, and come up with a uniform set of regulations that makes it easier for companies to comply to and stay here and get guidance from you. So Shala, do you want to add anything to this?
I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I will add one anecdote from chatting with Sunaina Tejeja at TD Ameritrade. She's their head of DLT, and she has managed to get out several crypto products through the TD Ameritrade system. She's done a fantastic job. And the way that she's always approached it is, I'm going to really map this out. I'm going to go meet with regulators and show them our playbook, have them approve it, and then roll it out. And that has worked really well for her, and I would encourage anyone who's looking to bring a really new product into the system to do the same. I think, you know, it's funny because I've been on the government side. I worked for the man, and I've been on the scrappy startup side, and I truly believe that regulators have the best of intentions. They're just trying to do their jobs, and they just don't have time to learn about really niche technology. And so I think everybody's got to meet in the middle, as you said, Yamini.
Yeah, really good point. And I think in my experience of working with regulators, both in the US and abroad, it really does boil down to education and collaboration. As the innovators, it's on us to educate the regulators so that they understand how the technology works and how it's benefiting not only businesses, but also greater society, and then collaborate to be successful. So thank you, ladies. All right, it's time to do our second poll. Addie, can you pull up the second poll for us, please? All right, so our second and final poll, curious to hear from the audience, how many of you would be interested in receiving your salary in cryptocurrencies? Please select one option. How about 30 seconds? Definitely 100% of my salary, maybe 50% of my salary, a small percentage of my salary. I am not comfortable with cryptocurrencies, or I do not understand cryptocurrencies. Really curious to see what the results are here. All right, so we've got, oh, okay. So we got 29% and 29%. 29% say a small percentage of the salary. 29% are saying not comfortable with cryptocurrencies. And 23% are saying about, maybe 50% of my salary. So, I mean, I feel like if we had asked this question, maybe 2 years ago, the answers might have been a little bit different.
Yeah,
So
but I'm very happy.
in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the poll results. It's like almost 60% wants it.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I will say, I have one recommendation for those who still don't understand or who aren't willing to put in money. Earn.com by Coinbase is a way where you go and you watch these videos, you learn about crypto, and then you earn it. So you don't have to necessarily hook it up to a bank account. It's super low risk, but I think it's really imperative that if it's coming up in the workplace, it's great to learn about it and you have to interact with it. You can't just kind of let it sit over there. You gotta get your hands a little dirty, not too dirty, but
Yeah, that's true. So I think that brings us to the question about what's next. Where, Shala, where do you see the industry going from here?
I think that, so I'm very bullish on a couple of Fortune 200 and 300 companies who have been concertedly building crypto teams because they know this is coming, right? They're not blockbuster. They absolutely know Netflix isn't inevitable for them, right? And so MasterCard's built a huge team. The Visa crypto team is absolutely excellent, and they have grown way more than I think people expect. And so I'm really bullish on companies who are already knee deep in the regulatory landscape, understand it, are willing to collaborate, but are simultaneously looking ahead and bringing that innovation forward. And so I do think that you will see some really cool products in addition to BitPay, which is obviously everyone should download. But in addition, coming out in the next 6 months to a year.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Yamini and Shala, for sharing your knowledge and your thoughts with everybody here today. I think it's time for us to open up for questions for the audience. So I'll ask Chrissa to go ahead and come back on screen. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, I'm gonna ask Addie here. Addie, do we have any questions from the audience that come in?
We do. We have great questions. So thank you everybody for sending those in. So the first one is in an industry that looks like it is obviously male dominated in terms of investors, innovators, and users. You all live and breathe this every day. Have you seen an increase of women in the space in the last 2 years? Is it hard? Is it a hard industry to crack into if you're a woman? And do you have any advice for any woman who would like to break into the career into blockchain, and how do you start?
Sounds like a really good question about what's happening with women and blockchain. Yamini, do you want to take this one?
Absolutely. So talking about, have I seen an increase of women in this space? I would like to say that at least 25% of the startups are founded by a woman. We have Chrissa right here. So that's a great example. We have about, say, 40% of executives in the startups who are women. And I want to call out companies like Binance and Slack that have at least 50% of women working there. So coming back to the question about women in blockchain, I really want to say to companies first that do you really want to create products, right, for your business that is designed or created only by men? Because the end user is going to be both the genders, right? So don't you want the balance? So my ask for companies is do not go by gender, just hire the best you have, the best talent that you get for your company. And for women, I want to say that I know that in this industry that we women have to like prove ourselves a lot harder than our male counterparts. to go anywhere. Maybe there is a gender discrimination. However, do not shy away, because if you don't join this industry, the equation is never going to change, right? So we want more women to join the space. If you have any aptitude or interest in blockchain or technology itself, join it. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you the perks and sell it to you. So the perks are that you get an excellent salary, right? The median salary of a software developer, for example, is 80,000, which is at least twice the salary of the median state wages, right? And then you get a better work-life balance, and you get all of this without having to spend too much on college tuition, like or getting a graduate or a postgraduate degree. So isn't that like benefits enough for you to join? So join it, and we want more women in this space. Yeah.
Yeah, and organizations like Women Driving Innovation are a great place to network, get a mentor, get introduced to the right opportunities and the right roles. So I encourage more women to do that. Thank you. Great answer, Yamini.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shala.
Patty, do you have any other questions?
Actually, it's kind of like a follow-up and very similar, but the twist here is as a college student with no experience, and even schools that haven't recognized crypto or blockchain, do you have any recommendations to break into same thing in blockchain?
Shayla, do you want to take this one?
Yes, I would love to. I think you got to be Nike about it and just do it. And I know that's I think hard to hear because it's so much better if it's structured. But the reality is most of the structured programs don't know what they're talking about. So you, especially in crypto and blockchain, I would recommend that you go to places like BlockGeeks or Masari. Masari, you can pay 25 bucks a month. It's loaded with explanations of how to get into it. And then I do think that you have to buy it. I think you have to literally get your hands dirty and figure it out. It's not, the user experience is pretty rough, so we're still working through it. But that's my response is you're probably not going to get, out of most schools, they're not going to have the curriculum. You're going to have to just do it yourself a little bit. And you're going to take your lumps. Everyone takes their lumps. Everyone makes a bad trade. Everyone makes buys a weird coin, and you're like, what? It's Dogecoin. Why did I get that? But you kind of have to learn a little bit.
Yeah, and I know there are a lot of schools out there, like General Assembly, for instance, is a really good one. And they have locations throughout the country. I know they're in New York, I know they're in Atlanta and other places as well, where you can take a course for a few weeks as an introductory way to get into the technology, learn more about it, and they normally don't cost that much. And if you are a professional already working in this space, you can have your organization pay for it as part of your professional development. So I would encourage anybody out there who's curious to leverage those resources. And again, get your organization to pay for it if you can. Thank you, great answer, Shayla. Addie, any other questions?
Absolutely, we actually have a lot of questions. So the next question is actually directed at Chrissa. As a consumer, please can you explain how I can start using the Patientory app and all its benefits?
Absolutely, that's a great question. We actually launched our private beta back in late 2018 and did a case study that is available on our website at patientory.com. And our public consumer app version it's coming. It's going live in mid-July this summer.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Chrissa, I can't wait to check it out.
Thank you. Absolutely.
So this question has been asked several times during the chat is, can you hack a blockchain?
I love that question.
I'm going to leave this up to the three experts. I have no idea.
I'm so glad someone asked that question because, like people think that, oh, it's decentralized, open, maybe easily hackable. But I just want to, I want to say that blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain at least, right, hasn't been hacked until now. However, exchanges we have heard, right, that have been hacked. So I would say that it's the platform that can get hacked, not the blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain technology itself. And the reason for those hacks are because People are careless with the way they store their private keys, right? Maybe it was stored on a device that was easily like attackable. It also happens with our hot wallets if we are not very careful about storing our private keys away, if we have it on our desktop or our mobile wallets. So we need to be careful. That's another way of it getting hacked. But the technology itself, no. I also want to talk about the famous hack of the DAO, where the Ethereum fork was found, right? So that's about smart contracts. So smart contracts, if they have any vulnerability in it, because it's written by a human, then a hacker, which happened, a hacker took advantage of this vulnerability and was able to like steal $50 million, I think, worth of Ethereum back in those days. And the reason he could do that was because he was able to withdraw the money without the smart code registering that the money was withdrawn. And he realized that, and he or she, I don't know what it was, they had 50 million. So that's when Ethereum had to do the governance by forming a fork, a hard fork, and creating Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. And to solve that, I also am very proud of companies like Anchain.ai, or there's some other company that does AI-based code audits. So it will audit your code, the smart contract code, before it's deployed now. So that's a great thing. I think AI and blockchain in general will do great together.
It sounds like a next topic for us, AI and blockchain.
Yeah.
Oh no. I have one thing I want to add to that, and there is a gentleman by the name of Brandon Curtis who wrote a large piece about the security of Bitcoin. The answer to this question would be really, really long, but essentially it's a mix of game theory and technology, why it's harder to hack, because it's the miners that are mining it and that actually validate transactions, for example, with Bitcoin, are incentivized to only accept good transactions. So if shady transactions come through, it ruins it for it ruins it the whole party. And that's a really basic way of explaining it. But Google Brandon Curtis and then security in Bitcoin. There should be a paper that comes up. It's an excellent PhD written paper about security in Bitcoin that really goes into this topic.
Oh, thanks, Shala. I'll definitely check it out.
Okay. All right. It's 6:52, Addie. Do we have time for one more question, or do we have any more?
Yeah, we do. We actually have, wish we could get to all of them. Let's do one last, depending on how long the answer is. Given the regulatory constraints of healthcare, how long do you think it will be until blockchain becomes truly mainstream in that industry?
Well, yeah, I guess I'll start. Healthcare is a very conservative industry. As we see, we can even make it's even more conservative than financial industry. So any real innovation takes about a decade to gain any traction in the space. This past March, we had a big policy regulation that was passed in terms of getting organizations to actually provide third-party access to health data, which was very favorable for our country. It was actually supposed to be talked about and announced by President Trump at HIMSS, which is one of the largest health IT conferences in the world. And I also sit on the interoperability committee of that. As of date, I think there are, well over 200 blockchain healthcare companies at the moment. So we do see where the market is increasing. And then over the next 3 to 5 years, we can start to see more of these proof of concepts become commercial products in this space.
Wow, very insightful. I had not realized that there were over 200 organizations in healthcare using blockchain today.
Yeah, it's from startup companies all over the world to actual healthcare systems and entities that are piloted with the technology today.
Yeah, that's a great stat to know. Thanks, Chrissa.
You're welcome.
All right, Addie, 6:54.
One last one, and it's just because I'm very curious about this. With fees so low, how do companies make money?
That's a good one. Any takers?
I could not hear the question, actually, sorry.
Sorry, with fees so low, how do companies make money?
Okay, that's a great question. I can take it. So, BitPay. BitPay has very low fees, right? But the way we make money is based on volume. And the more the volume, the more the money we end up making. So we really need to encourage businesses to be able to accept crypto payments, join the space, right? Become our customers, end up saving money, as well as when you increase the volume for companies like BitPay, who charge very low fees to begin with, we end up profiting out of that too with those low fees. So it's just volume that helps us make money. Is there anything else to add from anyone?
Well, it sounds like something that might be interesting for me, considering that, you know, a lot of my work in the last few years have been on commercialization and go-to-market strategy. I love taking something from nothing to millions. So thanks for the idea. All right. Thank you so much, Shala. Thank you, Yamini. Thank you, Chrissa. This has been an enlightening discussion. Thank you for bringing the energy to the panel. Really appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of our WDI community. And thank you again to Wnet for collaborating with us on this. I will pass it back over to Liz to close us out. All right, Liz, are you there?
So I hope you could hear that clapping. Thank you so much. It's a stellar panel. Thank you, ladies. Good to showcase, you know, some powerhouses in this segment. It's very, very technical, and it's very much the wave of the future. Thank you, Wnet, for working with us on this program. And now I would like to talk about our next program in June, which is presented by Innovation Forum. And it is Innovating While Riding the IoT Tsunami. This is June 18th, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., same station. Please go online to our website and register. Actually, you should get an email for registering this. Is that right, Addie?
Yes, there will be a follow-up.
Okay, great. And thank you, Addie, for behind the scenes, taking care of everything behind the scenes and smooth transitions. You did a great job. Next. Thank you again to our association, premier, and location sponsors. We miss you, Atlanta Tech Park, and hope to see you soon. Stay with us. We'll be back. Thank you again. Good night. I hope you have a great evening.
Hi. Thank you, ladies.